Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Chabad Hasidus for non-Jews class, and we are in chapter 52 of Likutei Amarim today, which is a section of the Tanya, and we are reading from Lessons in Tanya, which is the Tanya plus commentary in the section called Likutei Amarim, right here. You can get a physical copy, of course, or you can read it right here. We're in chapter 52. We're almost done with Likutei Amarim, I believe. In the previous chapter, the Alter Rebbe began to expound upon the theme of the indwelling of the Shekhinah, which resided in the Holy of Holies. So, the manifestation of the divine presence in this world, God's feminine manifestation, resided in the Holy of Holies and likewise in other places. He asked, is not the whole world filled with his glory? Since there is no place void of him, what do we mean when we say that God chose a specific place for the Shekhinah to rest? He explained this according to the text, from my flesh I see God, using the analogy of the soul, which pervades all the 248 organs of the body, yet its principal habitation is in the brain. So I believe he's talking about the Nefesh Elokis here. Well, maybe not. Um, um, this cannot be said to apply to the soul's essence, for that is found equally in all 248 organs, from the highest, the brain, to the lowest in the feet. Rather, this refers to the general flow of the soul's vitality into the body and its revelation there before it is diffused and drawn down into all the bodily organs, each according to its particular capacity. The Nefesh Behemoth, the animal soul, resides in the left of the heart. I believe that's its shorish, its root. But this one's talking about the brain, so I'm assuming it's talking about the Nefesh Elokis. But then it's talking about the 248 organs of the body and the like. So I don't know if they're taking it to another level and saying that that the Nefesh Elokis is just in general in all things in its essence, which would be true too. But we also have learned that the Nefesh Elokis, the godly soul, does primarily reside in the brain and the right side of the heart. Um, Concerning the general aspect, we say that uh, that its principal province and indwelling is in the brain. From there, a mere glimmer of this vitality is drawn down and revealed in the other bodily organs. The same is true, the Alter Rebbe explains, in the analog of godliness and the world. The core and essence of the Ein Sof is the same in the higher and lower worlds. He is concealed from them all equally, from even the higher worlds. No thought can apprehend him at all. At the same time, he is equally to be found both in the higher and lower worlds. The difference between the higher and lower worlds is in the analogy of the bodily organs, subsists only with regard to the stream of vitality which flows and is revealed from the Ein Sof in order to create and vitalize the worlds and their creatures. Concerning this level of revelation, we say that in the higher worlds, godliness is revealed to a greater degree, and in the lower worlds to a lesser degree. In the present chapter, the Alter Rebbe goes on to further explain how the analog of godliness and its place in the world relates to the analogy, in which the individual's vitality in its undiffused state resides in the brain. And just as in the human soul, so he really is talking about haOlam, the neshama of the atom of the man, which generally applies to all humankind. Um, the principal manifestation of the undiffused vitality is in the brain, while all the organs receive merely a light and potency which radiates to them from the source of the manifestation of the said vitality in the brain. So usually Adam is referring to Yisrael because Adam was supposed to be doing all the mitzvahs and he knew all the Torah, etc. And then so when Yisrael does the Torah and mitzvahs, they are also said to be Adam. Um, but haOlam is slightly different. It's different. It's generally referred to all of humanity. And sometimes when Adam is mentioned with animals, it also refers to humanity, such as I believe in Yov and Job. No, 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 no. Well, I might say it there too. I don't know, but in Jonah and Yonah, just talking about there's man and animals, man and beast. Um, okay. So just as this neshama of the atom, the principal manifestation, the ikr of the gilui, the revelation of the undiffused vitality is in the brain, while all the organs receive merely a light and potency which radiates to them from the source of the manifestation of the said vitality in the brain, in the mochin. So it's a revelation of the life that is in the mochin, the brains, the upper sphere of. So indeed, figuratively speaking, is the essential manifestation of the general stream of vitality, animating the worlds and the creatures therein, clothed and contained in his blessed will, wisdom, understanding, knowledge, which are called the intelligence, the mochin. The Sfirot of Keter, will, Chochmah, Bina, and Da'at, so wisdom, understanding, and knowledge as they exist above, are collectively called intelligence. Within them is enclosed the stream of undiffused vitality, which is the first revelation of the Ein Sof in the worlds. And these, the Keter, the will, Chochmah, Bina, and Da'at, are clothed in the Torah and its mitzvot. So this is very important. So when you're studying Torah, when you are really deeply involved in Torah study, you are in unclothing and understanding the wisdom here. Your mochin, your brain is merging with the brain of Hashem, to some extent. This is very important because that is the merging of that nefesh Elokis, godly soul, with your brain, where it sits. It resides in the brain. That's its primary residence. It can also reside in the right chamber of the heart. Um, but this is really important. This is important, of course, for Yisrael, but it's also important for non-Jews who study the Torah, who are oisek in Torah, because it is the will, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge of Hashem. This is very important. And it's said in the Mishnah, Torah, that even a goy, it's not going to come up for me, is it? Maybe if I just go to a blank thing, there we go. Even an akum, even an idolater that is deeply involved in Torah study is hive misa. You should only be uh, involved in the Sheva mitzvahs. Now, what's interesting about this? Well, if he's reading the Sheva mitzvot that are in the Torah, that is the will of Hashem. And as it said, an akum that is oisek in Torah is like a high priest. And it's very important to remember this. Why? Because the Alter Rebbe is going to bring about, and the Lessons in Tanya rabbi, the rabbi who wrote the commentary of Lessons in Tanya, he explicitly talks about the Shekhinah and the Holy of Holies. Well, who does the work in the Holy of Holies? It's the Kohen Gadol. So you have people who are oisek in Torah are like a Kohen Gadol. And you're going to find out that this is all related. Now, it doesn't mean that non-Jews in their totality enclose themselves in all the mitzvahs and all the three different garments. But at certain times, it is measure for measure. Um, so, for instance, if a person is studying Torah, he is like the Kohen Gadol. Or I should say like a Kohen Gadol. I forget how it's the grammar of it. I forget if there's a hey there, but it's a big deal because there's going to be people who say, "Oh no, you can't bring about a godly soul or interact with a godly soul," and that's just not what the mechanics are saying here. It's just not how it works. It doesn't mean you've completely accepted a godly soul. That would be like a bar mitzvah, a Yisrael during their bar mitzvah, or a Ger Tzedek at Beis Din completely accepting Taryag mitzvah. Not necessarily that it has to have a Beis Din, I guess, but for you to be accepted, it does, right? Um, so for instance, like give you an example. You've got a non-Jew who is deeply involved in Torah study. He's doing all this mechanics. He's doing the mechanics, Chochmah, Bina, and Dot into his Seichel, into his Mohin. Okay. But then he gets up, he stops studying Torah. What is his clothing like now, spiritual clothing, so to speak, of thought, speech, and action? He's kind of out of the garment of studying Torah, of thought and speech. What are his actions? What is he doing? Is he going to go eat a pork sandwich or something or what? Or is he going to do something else that's not in the Torah or not permitted in the Torah or prohibited in the Torah? Well, it seems to me from what I've read, the Nefesh Elokis, the godly soul, cannot take part in that. So it's going to go makif. It's still sustaining him, but at a distance. It's no longer, it's from the klipa at that point. And that appears to me like that is the difference between a Yisrael and a non-Yisrael. It's not that the non-Yisrael can't interact. It's just that it's in a transition kind of stage, very similar to like Toshav, Ger Toshav. He can reside in the land, but he's actually building and owning on the land. He's sojourning in it. He's not fully committed in it, so to speak. And therefore, Hashem is not, from the Nefesh Elokis perspective, is not fully committed. It's measure for measure. The manifestation of this general flow of life, which is similar to the undiffused stream of vitality found in the mohin, this brain, takes place, as the Alter Rebbe will soon say, when the flow from the intelligence descends into sphera of malchut. This manifestation is the source of the vitality which the worlds receive, each one in particular receiving but a diffuse glow that shines forth from the source. So as it goes lower, it gets diffused. This refers not to the general stream of vitality found in intelligence, but to its revelation. This revelation is the source of the vitality received by all worlds and their creatures, each according to its particular level. The diffuse glow that shines forth is. So I want to sum that up, and I could be wrong in this thinking, but we are just literal emanations from Hashem. But from our perspective, that vitality of what we are receiving from our perspective, it gets diffused. In a similar manner to the light that radiates from the sun by way of example, where the rays are but a diffused glimmer of the sun's essence, or as the faculties of the organs of the body derive from the brain, as discussed above in the previous chapters. So this is heavy stuff. It is this source of being a revelation from the general stream of vitality found within intelligence, the Mohin, which is called in the Kabbalah the world of manifestation. Because as the Alter Rebbe will soon say, it is here that godliness first becomes manifest in the worlds. Alma de Galia. And it is also called Matrunita, Aramaic for queen. For the queen receives her vitality from Kud, Kud, Kudsha Brichu, Aramaic for the Holy One, blessed be he, the king. I'm so used to saying that in Hebrew, it was hard. And it is also known as the nether mother, the lower level of mother. For Bina, too, is known as mother. As the verse says, allude to Bina as mother. This is Bina, however, is the higher level of mother, while Malchut is the nether mother, and is called the Shekhinah from the scriptural phrase, and I will dwell among them. For its Hebrew root means to dwell and be revealed. Okay, so the Shekhinah, the root of Shekhinah is this. Very cool. V'shachanti betocham. I've actually said that word before. Betochom. Interesting. Where did I say that before? And it is called the Shekinah from the scriptural phrase, and I will dwell among them. Very cool. I feel like we need to note by the Rebbe. Okay, let's read a footnote here. Footnote 3. In all the above, no mention is made that this is the level of Malchut of Atzilut and divine speech. It kind of alluded to it, though. Only later, as an introduction to the concept of Holy of Holies and Torah and the manner in which they descend from world to world, does the Alter Rebbe use the terms Malchut of Atzilut, Malchut of Berea, and so on. For inasmuch as he finds support for this in Etz Chaim, he uses the terminology of Etz Chaim, Malchut, and not Shekhinah and the like. The Tanya itself, however, does not adopt the style of Kabbalistic writings. That's why it gets a little confusing. So we're still talking about the world of Atzilus here, which I assumed because he says it up here. I don't think he says it explicitly, but um, okay. The above mentioned source is called the world of manifestation. For this source is the beginning of the revelation of the light of the Ein Sof. It's the beginning of the revelation of the light. Yep. Okay. And since the source itself constitutes a revelation, it itself is known as the world of manifestation because of its own nature and not because it vitalizes the revealed worlds. It is called queen because it is this level which extends to and illumines the worlds in a revealed manner. Similar to a queen, for through her the wishes of the king are revealed. Thus, the source of life, i.e., the first revelation of the light of the Ein Sof, is first manifest in the queen. From this source, there extends to each individual thing, world, or creature the particular light and vitality suitable for it, for which reason it is called the Nether Mother. For it is the mother and source of the particular form of vitality of each and every creature, and it, the light, dwells and is clothed in them, in the worlds and their respective creatures, thereby animating them, giving them life. Since it dwells, animates, and is enclosed in every world and creature, it is called Shekhinah, which, as previously explained means indwelling. I got to see that again. Veshachanti betocham or betochom. It depends, I think, what dialect. But anyways, okay, very cool. Okay, since it dwells, animates, and is enclosed in every world and creature, it is called the Shekhinah, which, as previously explained, means indwelling. Okay. Until now, the Alter Rebbe has clarified how the light is the source of the worlds and creatures in general. He now goes on to explain how it is also the source of the souls of Yisrael. And again, is he going to be talking about the Nefesh Behemoth, the Nefesh Elokis? What's he going to talk about here? Therefore, it is figuratively called Mother of the Children, i.e., of Jewish souls, and is also called Community of Yisrael. For from this source, the souls of Hatzilut have emanated, thus being emanations and not creations, and the souls of Berea have been created, and so forth. So, um, I want to say he's alluding to the Nefesh Elokis here, but the fact that it's the mother of the children, which is, I believe, in reference to Noga, I think this could be talking about the sparks of the Shekhinah, which are her children that fall into the Klipa, which is the Noga. Um, so we'll just keep on going. Why does that matter? Because then it means souls that are from Klipat Noga of humanity are in this Klal Yisrael. Notice how it doesn't say just Yisrael, but it says Klal Yisrael or Knesset Yisrael, excuse me. Uh, this is a big deal. This would be a big deal for people that are Chasidei Umot haOlam, for instance. It means that they are a part of Yisrael. But I don't want to go there yet because it's not confirmed. Because I don't know if this is talking about the nefesh or if it's talking about the neshama. If it's talking about the godly soul or the animal soul here. All of them, all the worlds, creatures, and souls being derived only from the extension of the vitality and light, which extends and streams forth from the source, which is called Shekinah, in a manner resembling the radiance of light from the sun. See, there's Noga. Um, it's like the light. That's Habakkuk 3:4 or 4:3, isn't it? But as for the Shekinah itself, namely the origin and core of the manifestation, whereby the blessed Ein Sof illumines the worlds in a revealed form, and which is the source of all streams of vitality in the worlds, their entire vitality being no more than the light which diffused from it, like the light radiated from the sun. Um, so I'm getting more and more positive that this is talking about the Noga here. But he's not talking about it in the ideas of the Nefesh Elokis and the Nefesh Behemot. And we've been kind of noticing that he's kind of been going away and throughout Likutei Amarim, he's been going away from the more Chabad Hasidic terms of the animal soul and godly soul, and he's been kind of shifting towards more Kabbalistic terms. Um, okay, I got to read this again, guys. This we got to go really slow. This is so pertinent to all of us. But as for the Shekhinah itself, so we're talking about the light that radiates and the children of the mother, okay? That's up there. But now we're talking about the Shekhinah itself, the mother itself, namely the origin and core of the manifestation, whereby the blessed Ein Sof illumines the worlds in a revealed form, in which is the source of all streams of vitality in the worlds. I'm assuming he's talking about the Hayot, Nefesh Hayot, the animal soul here. Because remember he made that shift. He started calling it the soul of vitality instead of the animal soul. He did that, I forget, like somewhere around chapter 30s or so. He started to make a shift, and I thought it was interesting. And it sounded different too. Their entire vitality being no more than the light which is diffused from it, like the light radiating from the sun. Concerning the Shekhinah itself, the source of all vitality for the worlds cannot endure or receive the light of the Shekhinah, that it might actually dwell and clothe itself in them without a garment to screen and conceal its light from them. So that they may not become entirely nullified and lose their identity within their source, just as the light of the sun is nullified in its source, namely in the sun itself, where this light cannot be seen, but only the integral mass of the sun itself. So this is getting really heavy, guys. Like, I don't know if you guys are following, but this is big, particularly where we talked about the whole concept of knesset Yisrael here. Um, That would be huge. It literally means that this whole book, even though it's talking about Yisrael, it's really talking about the Klipa Noga, the souls of the Noga, which includes Hasidei Umot haOlam, which would mean that there are members of Yisrael still in the Amim, still among the nations. And look at all the different types of non-Jews that are trying to figure their way back to Torah, you know? I mean, this is huge. Particularly if it is saying what I think this is saying. It hasn't been explicit yet. It's just alluding to it in the words. But this is a big deal. And we were talking about Bittel, like he's just using the same words. He's using, man, this is crazy. So too, the Shekinah is the source of vitality of the whole of creation, all of which receives but a ray of the Shekinah. Then, if the Shekinah itself, the actual source, would be manifest, all created beings would be nullified in that source. Their situation would be exactly similar to the sun's rays as they are found within the orb of the sun, where they are completely nullified. In order for the Shekinah to dwell within the worlds and their creatures, there must therefore be a garment which serves to conceal its light. Only then can creation receive the Shekinah and not be nullified out of existence. I'm pretty sure this garment, he's talking about Klipot Noga. But what manner of garment can possibly conceal the Shekinah and yet itself not be affected by it so that it too will not become nullified? Since the Shekinah is the source of all creation, it is, of course, the source of the concealing garment too. In other words, if the Shekinah is manifest in the garment, i.e., if the garment is enveloped by its source, then it follows that it should be nullified out of existence, just as the sun's rays cease to exist within the body of the sun. In effect, this would make the garment cease serving as a garment to conceal the Shekinah. The Alter Rebbe anticipates this question by stating that the garment is God's will and wisdom, which are enclosed in Torah and the mitzvahs. Since this garment belongs to a place even higher than the source of the world's vitality, known as the Shekinah, it is not nullified by it. However, asks the Rebbe, according to this explanation, the question becomes even stronger. If creation cannot receive the light of the Shekinah, then surely it cannot receive the light of the garment, which is even higher than the Shekinah. This, the Rebbe says, is everybody following? This is so important, man. This is crazy. It's not crazy. It's huge. This, the Rebbe says, is answered by the Alter Rebbe when he says only that it has descended by means of obscuring gradations. This means to say, since God's will and wisdom, as found in Torah and the mitzvahs, descended, and the gradations of the worlds, being able to clothe themselves even in material things, they are therefore can serve as a garment to conceal the light of the Shekinah. We now understand why the garment itself is not nullified by the light of the Shekinah, as well as how created beings can receive this garment within themselves, for it is none other than God's will and wisdom, which he enclosed in Torah and the mitzvahs, as shall presently be explained. But what is this garment which is able to conceal and clothe it, the Shekinah, yet will not itself be completely nullified within its light? This is his blessed will and wisdom, and so forth. And so forth refers to the levels of Bina and Da'at, which are part of the intelligence, the Mochin above, as mentioned earlier. So that's going to all be higher than this nether mother of Malchus of Atzilus, which are clothed in the Torah and its mitzvah, mitzvot that are revealed to us and our children. Why are God's will and wisdom and so forth able to act as a concealing garment for the light of the Shekhinah without themselves being nullified by it? So he asks the same question. For the Torah issues from wisdom, namely Chokhmah Ila'ah, the supernal wisdom, which is the level of Chokhmah of Atzilut. That is immeasurably higher than the world of manifestation, which is the Shekhinah. As mentioned earlier, Shekhinah refers to the initial stage of revelation, for which reason it is called the world of manifestation. Since Chokhmah Ilah is entirely beyond the pale of revelation, it is therefore immeasurably higher than the Shekhinah. For he is wise with the wisdom of Chokhmah of Atzilut, but not with a knowable wisdom, and so forth. And as has previously been explained, the infinite light of the blessed Ein Sof is clothed in and united with the supernal wisdom, and he and his wisdom are one. Thus, Chokhmah, as well as the other levels of divine intelligence, such as Bina and Da'at, are far superior to the level of the light of the Shekhinah. They are therefore able to serve as a garment, concealing the Shekhinah without being nullified by its light. But how can divine intelligence serve as a garment, and how can created beings accept the garment when it is in fact loftier than the Shekhinah itself? The Alter Rebbe now answers the question. Only this is because it, the supernal wisdom and Torah, has descended by means of obscuring gradations from a higher grade to a lower grade, with the descent of the worlds until it, the Torah, has clothed itself into material things, namely the 613 commandments of the Torah.
James, do you want to go back and read that footnote?
Sure. Yeah.
Number 5.
Okay. So let me read the actual thing first. Only this is because it, or second, it, the supernal wisdom and the Torah, has descended by means of obscuring gradations. Okay. The Rebbe notes, possibly this alludes only to Torah. See above chapter 4, exactly, where exactly the same expression is used. See also beginning with chapter 53, the supernal wisdom of Atzilut, which is the totality of the Torah. This matter requires further investigation. Like I was opening up this chapter with, when you are oisek in Torah, you are unlocking those garments, so to speak, and you are truly knowing in the biblical sense. You're like truly knowing you are one with the mind of Hashem. And chapter 4, 5, 6 explains that. This is the mechanic. This is how it works. So only this is because it, the supernal wisdom and the Torah, has descended by means of obscuring gradations from a higher grade to a lower grade with the descent of the worlds until it, the Torah, has clothed itself in material things, namely the 613 mitzvot of the Torah. Isn't that awesome? That's why the Torah and mitzvahs are so important. It's literally the will and wisdom of Hashem. As this wisdom came down by progressive descents from world to world, the Shekhinah too came down and clothed itself in it in each world. Thus, within the supernal wisdom which descends into each world is to be found the Shekhinah of that world. This is the shrine of the Holy of Holies, which is contained in each world. This is huge, i.e., the Shekhinah resides with the Holy of Holies of each world. This being the divine intelligence enclosed in the Torah of each particular world. See also, has it been stated in the Zohar in Etz Chaim that the Shekhinah, which is Malchut of Atzilut, being the manifestation of the light and vitality of the blessed Ein Sof, which illumine the worlds, wherefore, i.e., since it is a revelation, it is called God's speech, and the breath of his mouth, as it were, where the purpose of speech is to reveal that which was concealed in thought. So this tells me it might not be talking about the Nefesh Behemo. As in the case of a person, by way of example, speech reveals to the hearers the speaker's concealed and hidden thought. The same applies above. Malchus of the Malchut of Atzilut, the level at which the light of the Ein Sof and the previously concealed vitality becomes manifest, is called God's speech, for it reveals godliness to the worlds. This level of Shekhinah, which is Malchut of Atzilut, clothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of Berea, namely the Chochmah, Bina, and Dot of Berea. Through the fact that the latter Sphirot clothe themselves in the Malchut of Berea, the souls and angels which exist in the world of Berea have been created. At this point, the Rebbe notes the Chabad of Berea clothed themselves in the Malchut of Berea, together with the Malchut of Atzilut, which is within them, for as stated earlier in this chapter, from this source have been created. The souls and angels of the world of Berea are created beings. Okay, so that this tells me that it is talking about the Nefesh Behemot, but it's like the Nefesh Behemot of every world. The souls and angels of the world of Berea are created beings, unlike the Sphirot of any particular world. They are not the godliness of their world, but are created from the level of Malchut therein. Thus, the angels and souls and angels of the world of Berea are created from Malchut of that world. I got to read that again. The souls and angels of the world of Berea are created beings, unlike the Sphirot of any particular world. They are not the godliness of their world, but are created from the level of Malchut therein. Okay. Thus, the souls of and angels of the world of Berea are created from the Malchut of that world. That makes sense. And from there also, from Malchut of Berea, in which is enclosed the Shekhinah, i.e., Malchut of Atzilut, which previously had clothed itself in the Chochmah, Bina, and Dot of the world of Berea, after which the latter are clothed in Malchut of the world of Berea, derives the Talmud that we possess.
That's a footnote.
Okay. The Rebbe explains why the Alter Rebbe has added that we possess, i.e., the Talmud that we possess here in this world. Possibly, he says this was added in order to anticipate a question that might arise from chapter 23 above. There, the Alter Rebbe says that the Torah is the illumination of the blessed Ein Sof, for he is the knower. This indicates that Torah is wholly one with God himself. How then can it be said that the Talmud emanates from a level and sphere no higher than the world of Berea? The Alter Rebbe therefore explains that this refers only to the Talmud that we possess, as man studies it in this world. This concept sits well with the statement in chapter 23 that the laws are particular streams flowing from the inner supreme will itself, but an emanation from the supreme will. The Rebbe also cites the Alter Rebbe's second note to chapter 40, which states that the core and essence of the supreme will is in Atzilut, and only a glow therefrom radiates to each world according to its rank. It has previously been explained in the name of the Tikkunim, that in the world of Bria there shine and flow forth the Chokhmah, Bina, and Dad of the Ein Sof in a powerfully contracted manner, in order that the souls and the angels, which are finite beings, shall be able to receive influence from these categories of Chabad. Souls and angels in the world of Bria are unable to receive influence from Chabad as it exists in its essential state in Atzilus, so it has to be enclosed first. Only after Chabad descends in a powerfully contracted manner into Bria are they able to receive its influence. Therefore, the Talmud, not the Mishnah, but the Gemara, also originates from there, from the world of Bria. For it, the Talmud is also of the category of Chabad, for the Talmud is, i.e., it consists of the clearly defined reasons of the halachot. And the reasons being rational are from the category of Chabad, intelligence. And the laws themselves found in the Mishnah derive from the midot, the emotive attributes of the Ein Sof. So this is going to be what the Malchus.
James, I think we need to go back up and read the footnote 9, where the
Oh,
Rebbe addresses the question on why the Rebbe repeats.
okay, I must have missed that. Sorry.
Yeah. Um,
I don't think I'm there in this version. Yeah, it's down here. Okay, we'll get
oh,
to
I
it.
hadn't got there yet. Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I know the physical copies are a little bit different than the online copy. And I don't know which one's more recent, so um and the laws themselves found in the Mishnah. So in the Talmud, you have the Mishnah, which is the inner core, it is the actual law. But the Gemara is the rabbinic sages' commentaries and debates around the Mishnah, because the Mishnah is usually really small. It's usually just like maybe a sentence or a paragraph. It's usually not very big. And then you have the Gemara, which is usually pages, or like 1 or 2 pages at least. Um, and then you have commentaries beyond that. Then you have like Rashi and Tosfot and all that. Rabbeinu Gershom. And
And
the
James, I
law,
apologize. I turned 2 pages at one
no,
time.
it's totally cool. Yeah, no need. And the laws themselves found in the Mishnah derive from the midot, the emotive attributes of the Ein Sof, namely kindness, severity, mercy, and so on, from which originate permission and prohibition, the left side and right side. Permission deriving from kindness and prohibition from severity, ritual validity and invalidity, liability and blamelessness. Ritual validity and blamelessness originating from the attribute of kindness, and ritual invalidity and liability originating from the attribute of severity, as explained in the Tikkunim. By virtue of the clothing of Malchut of Atzilut and the Malchut of Berea, it then clothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of Yetzirah, this being the Chabad of Yetzirah, the Chokhmah, Bina, and Dot of Yetzirah. It is in this manner that the Shekhinah of Malchut of Atzilut ultimately comes to reside in the world of Yetzirah, when later on the latter Malchut of Atzilut, together with the Sphira in which it is enclosed in Malchut of Berea and in the Chabad of Yetzirah, are clothed in Malchut of Yetzirah. The souls, which are called ruchot, are created.
Now we can go back up to 9.
Okay.
But it's talking about how the worlds overlay each other.
Oh, cool.
The catcher of and overlays the malchut, overlays as they come down.
Right, right, right,
There it is.
right. Very cool. Oh, I just lost it. Where are we? What did I do? There's eight. There's nine.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. The Rebbe addresses the question of why the Alter Rebbe repeats by virtue of the clothing of Malchut of Atzilut and Malchut of Berea when it had already been stated, through the fact that the later Sphirot clothed themselves in the Malchut of Berea. He answers, the vestment spoken of earlier is much milder and conceals little. From it, therefore, there only come about entities of the world of Berea, such as the souls and angels of that world, or the part of Torah connected with that world, the world of Berea belonging on the level of a world of concealment. The vestment which the Alter Rebbe speaks of here is so much stronger and conceals so much more than through this concealment creatures of the world of Yetzirah come into being. The world of Yetzirah being on the much lower level of a world of manifestation. The Rebbe provides an additional answer. Sorry, guys, my allergies are acting up. Might have to pause it or stop for the night. We'll see. Hate to pause it right in the middle of the footnote, though. Okay, the world of Bria being on the level of the world of concealment. Okay, the vestment which the Alter Rebbe speaks of here is so much stronger and conceals so much more that through this concealment, creatures of the world of Yetzirah come into being. The world of Yetzirah being on the much lower level of a world of manifestation. The Rebbe provides an additional answer, which, because of its complexity, will be presented in capsule form. There are two manners in which the Shekhinah, the Malchut of Atzilut, may clothe itself in the Malchut of every world. The actual manner in which it vests itself depends on its goal. So I want to stop there for a second. And Teresa, you can, and whoever wants to chime in. So the Shekhinah as it exists in the world of Asiya, which is in the Malchut of Asiya, that is going to generate the souls of this world, which are the Nefesh Behemoth. So I was right earlier. This is profound.
Mhm.
This is the logic. This means that the Nefesh Behemoth that are from the right side of which is called Klipat Noga, they are Yisrael. They are part of Yisrael. They're from, I don't want to say Yisrael, excuse me. They are from Knesset Yisrael, which is a different thing than just Yisrael, I'm assuming. I want to be diuk, I want to be accurate. This is huge. This means in Chabad Hasidus, there are people that are called Chasidei Umot haOlam, the kind ones of the peoples of the world that are in their various religions. They're doing their things. They're still in Avodah Zarah, but they are part of Knesset Yisrael. In layman's terms, they're part of Yisrael, but I want to be accurate and say that they're part of the Knesset, the congregation, or the assembly of Yisrael. That's huge. That is so huge. I don't know anyone who has found this. And if they have found it, they're probably hush hush about it. Why is it important? It means, like I just got to restate it. There are people in various religions today that emanate from the right side of Hashem, their animal soul, their nefesh behemot, just like a Yisrael soul emanates from the right side. But they are in other religions, other belief systems. They're doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, but they don't know any better because they don't know the Torah.
Do you think that that it's talking about the the Jewish people that have assimilated
They're talking about that too,
and that do not know that they are like a lot of the Holocaust people came out
like the
and
Anusim, like the
Mhm.
Spanish people that were converted to Catholicism, right?
Right.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's the same thing. Same thing. Not quite the same thing, but it's spiritually the same thing. There are people that are under duress that believe in the lies of their forefathers, but they still emanate from the right side. They still emanate from this klipat noga, which has an element of bittul. They receive a portion of the world to come, even though they're in their various religions. But because they are truly kind, they have an element of bittul, um, uh, self-sacrifice or self-nullification. They put others first, kind of. They want to see their fellow do well, whether they're involved in their well-being, that person's well-being or not. Um, they're not doing it for self gratification, or self-righteousness, um, virtue signaling. That's the word I was trying to think of last week. They don't virtue signal. I'm not saying that they're completely righteous, but the point is they're doing thing. Hashem is going to give them measure for measure, and they receive a portion in the world to come. Two, from what is this is going on right here, this is a big deal. This means that those souls are in the assembly of Yisrael. They might not fully be at the height of a what's called a Yisrael, what we think of. They're doing all the mitzvahs. Obviously not. But there is an essence about them that is, and it needs to be nurtured because they're like children of the Shekhinah, is what this is saying. This is huge. This it doesn't say it explicitly. We're following the logic here. We're following what it's saying. And it's not he's not going to say it. The Alter Rebbe would never say it. He would have gotten jailed and maybe even executed for evangelization of Judaism, because he would be saying that there are kind ones in the world. He doesn't say this in the Tanya, but there's other places in Chabad Hasidus that there are kind ones. They believe in the God of gods. They believe Elokai Delokaya, which is he says is Avodah Zarah. He says that in chapter 6 of no, chapter 22 of Likutei Amarim here. So they are in Avodah Zarah, but yet they have an element of bittul. They do true kindness. They receive a portion in the world to come. And two, it seems to say, like he's saying here, and he's saying it kind of through a web because he wouldn't be able to explicitly say it. I'm not saying that's why it is, but this is my theory. This is my chidush here. And it's logical. It's completely logical from what this is saying. But that they are part of Knesset Yisrael. They're part of the congregation of Yisrael. This is huge. And this also falls into play of everything that we've been reading. All the sages say this, like the Ger Toshav, for instance, who accept the seven because the Torah says so. They are from Chasidei Umot haOlam. And then we know, like the Rashba says, that the Ger Toshav is like a small child of Yisrael. He is a ger. He's like a small child of the blood of Yisrael. This is huge. Like I'll finish here because I know we're going long in the tooth. I don't know if we'll get this finished tonight, but this is huge. If anybody wants to correct me, if I am wrong and you can find an explicit thing, please, comment on this video. But the logic, the logic is stacking up here. The proof text and everything is just starting to get overwhelming. Um, But I don't want to hear a whole thing about, well, goyim aren't. You got to realize we're out of that stage of goyim and b'nai noach and ger. We already understand that stuff. We've been through that 1,000 times with people who don't understand. They just can't read like simple uh, phrases from the sages. Okay, I don't want to. The Rebbe provides an additional answer, which, because of its complexity, will be presented in capsule form. There are two manners in which the Shekhinah, the Malchut of Atzilus, may clothe itself in the Malchut of every world. The actual manner in which it vests itself depends on its goal. When the vestment takes place in order to create creatures of that world itself, for example, when the Shekinah vests itself in the Malchus of Berea in order to create angels and souls of the world of Berea, then the Shekinah first clothes itself in the Chabad of that world. Only after vesting itself there will it clothe itself in Malchut. In such a situation, the prior vestment in Chabad is indispensable. Just as in the analogy of the body and soul, the vitality of all parts of the body derives from the brain, Chabad. However, when the Shekinah vests itself in the Malchus of a lower world, not for the sake of the world itself, but only in order to be able to descend into an even lower world. For example, when Malchut of Atzilut vests itself in Malchut of Berea, in order to be able to vest itself in the Malchut of Yetzirah, then the vestment is direct. The Shekinah descends directly into the Malchut of the lower world. Even if it were argued that in this instance too, there must be some manner of prior vestment in Chabad of that world, still in the subsequent vestment of the Shekinah in Malchut, no real effect of the prior vestment in Chabad is felt. At any rate, this lesser effect is present only to the degree necessary to enable the Shekinah to clothe itself in Malchus of the lower world. This is why, when the Alter Rebbe begins discussing the world of Yetzirah, he first says, by virtue of the clothing of Malchut of Atzilut and the Malchut of Berea. Okay, I got to read that again. This is why, when the Alter Rebbe begins discussing the world of Yetzirah, he first says, by virtue of the clothing of Malchut of Atzilut in Malchut of Berea. This he does in order to emphasize that the vestment of the Shekinah and Malchut of Berea is a direct, or at least a more direct vestment, since it is not for the sake of Berea itself, but rather for the sake of Yetzirah. And that might be what you're talking about, Teresa, where it overlaps. But it seems to be like they're saying it overlaps from Atzilut. In other words, there's like a short, there's like a what's I'm looking for, like a shortcut. Well,
Yeah, hold on a second.
it's okay. I just asked, I said maybe that's what we were talking about. There's like a shortcut here. It seems like the Alter Rebbe is saying that um, the Shekinah doesn't have to. Oh, there we go. I was wondering if you're getting a video.
See, this is, let's start up here. Well, oh, here we are. Here's Keter, and then it overlaps. It overlaps. The Keter overlaps in Tiferet. And then the next world picks up and overlaps in Tiferet, which means that here, the Da'at and the Tiferet or overlapping the Malchut
Hmm.
from the world above. So it goes down as you're going down in all the worlds.
Mm. I think yours is more detailed because he's
This
just
is
going. He's
this
skipping
is
the
from Mike's
midot.
teaching.
Okay. Yeah. 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 That's more detailed because you're going into the midot. He hasn't even gotten into the midot. He's just going from Habad, the upper Sefirot, all the way into Malchut first, which would encapsulate all the midot, right?
Yes.
So very cool. Okay, very good. Wow. Um, okay, by virtue of the so wow, okay. And the souls, like he said earlier, the Alter Rebbe said that the souls and the angels are not from the Sefirot, or they are from it, but they are not in the Sefirot. They are in the externalities. So our animal souls would be in the these are from those externalities or in the externalities, you know. Um, okay. The Chochmah, Bina, and Dad of Yetzirah. Okay. It is in this manner that the Shekhinah of Malchut of Etzilut ultimately comes to reside in the world of Yetzirah. When later on the latter, the Malchut of Atzilus, together with the Sefirot in which it is enclosed, and Malchut of Beria and in Habad of Yetzirah are clothed in Malchut of Yetzirah, the souls which are called Ruchot are created. Okay, we already said this. For the three levels of souls, Nefesh, Ruach. Oh, here we go, guys. For the three levels of souls, Nefesh, Ruach, singular of Ruchot, and Neshama correspond to the three lower worlds. Nefesh originates in Asiya. We know this, but still, we want to be diuk. We want to know where we're getting our source material from. Ruach in Yetzirah, Neshama in Beria. With regard to Nashamot, the Alter Rebbe has said previously that they are created from the Malchut of Beria. In now discussing the level of Malchut of a Yetzirah, he writes that souls of the level of Ruach are created. Okay, so I think he answered our question above, talking about the Nashamot of the Adam. So he's talking about the Nashamot of Yisrael. That begins on the higher world. But here we're talking about the Nefesh here in Asiya, which every animal soul, including the animal soul of Yisrael, starts. In now discussing the level of Malchut of Yetzirah, he writes that souls of the level of Ruach are created, and the angels, which are of the world of Yetzirah. From there, too, from the Malchut of Yetzirah, come the Mishnah that we possess, which comprises the legal decisions that are likewise derived from Habad of the Blessed Ein Sof. Not only the Gemara within the Talmud, but the Mishnah, too, derives from the intelligence of the Ein Sof. Even though it was stated earlier that the Mishnah derives from Midot, yet since within the Mishnah there is concealed the rationale of laws, they too emanate from the Chabad of the Ein Sof. Okay, that kind of touches on what Teresa, you're getting at. So you've, excuse me, you guys have already expanded out the structure to include that. Only that the categories of Chabad, that is, the reasons and interpretations of the Halakot, are clothed and hidden within the laws themselves, are not in a revealed form. I want to see how much longer we go here. We're almost done. Let's just do it. I
Two
know
more
we're
pages.
going over, but man, this is might even be done with Likutei Amarim by Pesach. I don't know. We have one more week before Pesach. Pesach starts like next
Pesach
week.
starts next Wednesday.
Oh, okay. Um, okay. This is wow. It's very cool. So we're finding this out right before Pesach. This is huge. Like, if this is what I think it is, I mean, this is a big deal. And this is always kind of what I've suspected. And we've had various sages throughout the, hundreds of years allude to this. But now we finally have, I shouldn't say we, I think you guys already have, but within Chabad Hasidus, we have mapped it out. Even though it's faint, you know, it's there. Um, okay, let's just keep going. Um, I went too far, didn't I? Um, okay. Oh,
A little bit further up from that.
oh, okay. Not only in the Gemara within the Talmud, but the Mishnah too derives from the intelligence of the Ein Sof. Okay, we read this. Even though it was stated earlier that the Mishnah derives from the Midot, yet since within the Mishnah there is concealed the rationale of the laws, they too emanate from the Chabad of the Ein Sof. Okay. Only that the categories of Chabad, that is, the reasons and interpretations of the halachot, are clothed and hidden within the laws themselves, are not in a revealed form. In the Gemara, the reasons for the laws are revealed, whereas in the Mishnah, all that is revealed is the actual law itself, not the reasons underlying it. With the elements of the halachot, which are in a revealed form in the Mishnah, are the very reflection of the midot of the blessed Ein Sof in their revealed form. As mentioned earlier, the actual halakhic decision that something is permissible derives from the divine attribute of kindness, and that something is prohibited derives from the attribute of severity. We've learned that quite a lot earlier in the Likutei Amarim here. Thus, it has been explained above in the name of the Tikkunim that six Sfirot nest in Yetzirah. They, the six Sfirot or Midot, comprise in general two extensions, right and left. Right representing kindness and left severity, acting with forbearance deriving from the aspect of kindness, which results in adjudicating leniency. This is to say, to permit a thing to ascend to God. Chasidei Umot haOlam. Bingo. So the Chasidei Umot haOlam can ascend to God. They're from the right side. In other words, there's no glass ceilings here. For only that which is permitted to a Yisrael can ascend to God. Thus, when a ruling is lenient and the object in question is permitted for use, it enables the individual, through utilizing it in the performance of a mitzvah, to cause it to ascend to God. This, of course, is an act of kindness. This is very important because for non-Jews, one, Torah and mitzvahs are generally what's the word I'm looking for? Uh people don't want you to do them. People don't want you to do Torah and mitzvahs. And we see that quite a bit on the internet. You're a goy, you cannot do Torah and mitzvahs. That's the general, almost prevailing consensus. This is a huge eye opener. This is completely different. What Chabad Hasidus is saying here is that if you emanate from the right side, if you have an element of bittul to you, if you truly do kindness, you can ascend, and the way to ascend is through Torah and mitzvot. If that message got out, it would clear up a lot of anti-Semitism. for one. Two, it would make the world the place that it needs to be, which is the bigger thing, or maybe even equal in the other thing. Maybe they're the same thing. I don't know, but this is huge. This is huge. And I want to clarify, it doesn't mean just because you're starting to learn about Torah and mitzvahs means that you are a Yisrael and you can go, if like you're single, you can marry a Jew or something like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is there's a progression. There's this progression, this gerus, there's this sojourning, and this is what it is. This is the sojourning. Just learn Torah.
James, I have a question, please.
Yeah, what's up?
Well, are you saying like they're telling us that we can't learn Torah and the how do I want to phrase it? So in that vein, are they incorrect?
Correct. Yes, they are incorrect. I've been saying that forever, but yes, and the more and more Torah we study, the more and more we're seeing it's what's going on is it's a mislabeling. They don't really see your soul. They just see you as non-Jew, therefore you are a goy. This is their logic. I'm not saying this is true. And you're an idolater, and therefore you cannot do anything in Torah except for the seven. And that's not quite right. That's not how it works. How it works is if you are Akum, that is called a goy, because the nations, how they were created, were the fact that they tried to build before they were in the various nations. The people of the world tried to build a tower to Hashem, and they did it using Avodah Zarah. And Hashem said, "You can't do that. I'm going to disperse you into various tongues, into various nations." And they were still doing idolatry, but Hashem showed them kindness basically by giving them their own angels that Hashem ultimately controls. It's literally just Hashem. But from the nation's perspective, they only see these angels. And that is why it's considered avodah zarah. That's why goyim are considered avodah zarah. But that's such a low state. That's not all of humanity, particularly today, where there are non-Jews. And I want to emphasize you know, they're not doing that harsh idolatry anymore. They're not doing that harsh avodah zarah anymore. And the Sarim, those angels are losing their power, so to speak. They're being brought low, and we're seeing a lot more non-Jews coming to Torah. But then what's happening is that a lot of rabbis and the like who are engaging with non-Jews are treating them as if they're still goyim, as if they're still idolaters. They don't really understand what goyim, the definition of goy is. They don't understand the definition of bnei Noach. They don't understand the definition of ger toshav. They read a few sentences or maybe a book that was written by people who only read just a few sentences that take things way out of context. And there's well-researched books that are based on just taking one or two verses out of context, or even just switching the Torah, even changing the words of the sages, and they create a whole basically religion for non-Jews on that. That's what Noahide is. That's what Noahideism is. But the real truth is these people that are these non-Jews, so to speak, the actual thing is where their soul's from. They're from the Klipat Noga, which is the same root as the souls of Yisrael, the animal souls of Yisrael. And that Noga, which are the sparks of the Shekhinah, which are her children, are coming back, and they're being taught wrong. And so you have these rabbis who are speaking these things about non-Jews. Then you have other non-Jews that are taking clips of these rabbis saying these things that are not right. And then they're spreading it for anti-Semitic purposes, because from their perspective, it doesn't seat well with their midot, their sense of justice and the like. And they don't know Torah enough because they didn't inherit the Torah. They don't know the Torah. They don't know Hebrew or Aramaic. They don't study this stuff. From their perspective, they just have an emotional sense. They don't have an intellectual sense, but they have an emotional sense of justice. And they said, well, I'm not a bad person. I don't need to be executed because, I hit a homeless guy on the side of the road, like that manslaughter. And under the laws of B'nai Noach, which is a certain thing, which isn't Torah, you're executed. If you commit manslaughter, heaven forbid, according to the laws of B'nai Noach, you are executed. But and what is a Ben Noach? A Ben Noach is somebody that does not have Torah. They just do the seven, and they don't do them because the Torah says to do them. But most people today, there are two types of people today. Usually, there's people who kind of vaguely do things because the Torah says so. It's usually because of Christianity or because of Islam. And they run semi-functional societies based off of that. They're not Stam B'nai Noach. They're still under a kind of like a pseudo category of B'nai Noach, but at the same time, they do things kind of like Ger Toshav or like Chasidei Umot. They're kind. Not all of them, but generally, they return lost items. Returning lost items are not one of the seven. Now, some people say, "Oh, it actually is one of the seven because it's under dinim and it's a just thing to do to return." Some people don't do it just because it's a just thing to do. Some people do it because they literally believe that's what Hashem wants them to do, and they might have read it in the Torah. So you have this intermingling of people coming out of pure avodah zarah, and it's even said in the Talmud, the people, this was 2,000 years ago. He says that the goyim, the B'nai Noach of that time, were not full idolaters, that they only do things because of the lives of their forefathers. They don't really do avodah zarah. They don't really know avodah zarah. They're not actually doing idolatry. They're just acting. They're just going through the motions. And this is stated in Hulin, page 12. That's why they can bring offerings and the like. Um, that's why it's there in Hulin. So all this hatred, I hate to say it, but it is. It's because of misunderstandings of Torah, particularly in regards to non-Jews. I have yet to come across many rabbis that are like they're either dead or a lot of Jews scared them away from openly teaching it. But this is why we have so many problems in the world today, particularly with the non-Jewish and Jewish relationship.
James, I
Because,
have another question, please.
well, hold
Why?
on, hold
Okay,
on.
sorry.
That's okay. But there's also a second group of non-Jews who are coming out of those lies, and they do accept the Torah, and they do the seven because the Torah says so. And those people are like Ger Toshav. They're not Goyim. They're not B'nai Noach. They are literally Gerim. They are sojourners that are coming back to Torah. Now, it's very true that there's not a legitimate beis din today that deals with Yovel and all that, because it says Eino Makabel Ger Toshav Bismanazeh. There's no Ger Toshav today because there's no Yovel. But there are aspects of Ger Toshav today. There are aspects of non-Jews doing kindness for one another, and even though there are Ger Toshav not accepted, it doesn't mean they don't exist too. There are Ger Toshav that exist. They do accept the seven. And like the Rambam says, they are called Ger Toshav, but they are not accepted because there's not the government for the beis din today because of Yovel. But nonetheless, there are tons of people like us. They're just being taught wrong. They're just being taught wrong. And the time is Pesach. Pesach is almost here. This is it. This is people who are wanting to come out of Mitzrayim, come out of Egypt, come out of that heavy klipa, and they're wanting to come to Torah, but no one is teaching them right, and they're like withering on the vine, and it's sad. That's one of the reasons why I do this class, because I know what it's like. Okay, go ahead, Dixie. Sorry.
Oh, oh, sorry. My mind doesn't last very long, and I forgot.
Oh, that's okay. I'm kind of with you. If you notice, I'm kind of stumbling myself. I'll just keep going, and if you remember, you let me know.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
Yep.
I know, I remember.
Yeah.
Why do you think that the Jews want to keep the Torah from us so bad? Because, like, if you go to the synagogue, they won't even let you look at the Torah, the women.
Yeah.
And why? I know they have the reason that we the Shekinah doesn't want any competition. Yeah, but we can never be competition for the Shekinah. But I suppose it would be the man that would fall in that area, not the women. But I just don't get it.
Are you
They
talking
will teach.
about are you talking about laws for women?
No, I'm talking about period, the Torah. They'll teach us the Tanya, and they'll teach us certain things.
Oh
But
yeah.
like
It's
and but,
because we still have the din of Akum. We still to them we still have the din of Akum of an idolater. And until there's a base din for Ger Toshav, a lot of them are not going to accept because they haven't learned the parts in the Talmud, for instance, to say, well, okay, yes, we don't have Yovel, we don't have a base din, but there are other things that you can accept, and like oh man, is it a Vodazara? A Vodazara 65. Um, rabbis are talking and they're like, why are you giving? They're talking to one rabbi saying, why did you give this non-Jew a present? You're not supposed to give Goyim presents. And the rabbi says, it's because I know he's not an idol worshiper. Even though there's no Beis Din and no Yovel, I know he's not an idol worshiper, so I can give him a present. And then the other rabbi got really upset with himself because apparently he wasn't giving out presents to people that he thought he should, because he felt bad for not doing a mitzvah. So this is and that is the basis of Avodah 65. Avodah Zarah 65 is the basis of the Kesef Mishnah says is the basis for the Rambam in Hilchot Malachim 10:10 saying that you can keep the tzedakah and sustain the life of a ben Noach. So if a Noahide who observes the seven mitzvahs gives charity, we should accept it from him. And Yisrael can keep it. And so there's a mitzvah. It's literally a mitzvah for a Jew to support this. They say Noahide, but it's a Ben Noach who keeps the seven. He's not even a Ger Toshav. He's just a guy that doesn't do a idolatry according to his ways. He keeps the seven. He doesn't steal. He doesn't murder. He doesn't eat the limb off a living animal and the like. Whatever. He does the seven. In contrast, it says there's an idolater that gives charity. We should accept it from him, but we give it to the Gentile poor. In other words, you can accept it, but you just can't keep it. So there's a concept of accepting and keeping. The Ben Noach, you can accept and keep the charity of a Ben Noach. And there's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to sustain the life of this guy. Here's the deal, though. That's not in the Torah. There's nowhere in the Torah does it say Ben Noach. There's a mitzvah to sustain the life of a Ben Noach. It's talking about the Ger Toshav. That's why the Kesef Mishnah there in the commentary, he says I forget verbatim what he says, but he basically says I believe the Rambam source for this is the Avodah Zarah 65, which is talking about the rabbi who gives the gift to his friend who is not an idolater, even though he's a non-Jew. And my point is, a lot of Jews don't know that. A lot of rabbis don't know that. They play it safe and they just want to call you an idolater. And even if they do know, there's so much pressure from other Jews, I think. That's just my theory. I mean, I don't know. But they just, and not only that, I mean, when I talk to them there's guys that come after me on the internet. There's like one guy that follows me around and Jewish guy, and he just thinks I'm not keeping the seven and I'm an idolater and I shouldn't be studying this stuff or teaching this stuff. He does not understand that I've had multiple non-Jews message me and say, James, thank you for speaking out about this because that other guy told me that I shouldn't, and I almost left the faith because that other guy was so negative and just teaching it wrong or whatever. They have, various things, but um my point is those types of teachers, and he's not a rabbi, he's just a Jewish guy who thinks he knows everything. Those types of people kill the soul. Like they maybe not kill, but they completely try and cut off that soul from Hashem, and it's so sad. And it's sad to watch, it's sad to see. But anyways, those people message me and say, James, I almost gave up hope because I thought the Torah was the right thing, and here these rabbis are telling me different. And so what happened is they come to really love the Torah. Like, oh, the Torah really is true. It's just being taught wrong. So, and that's, you know,
But there's another thing I want to bring up. I don't know. I know that even the women in Judaism can't study certain things, like Rabbi Sarah Cohen. She says that they can't study gematria, just sit down and study it. They have to have it in a different setting, if that makes sense.
right. Yeah, I mean, you're getting it. That's why I asked earlier if we were talking about just women's laws and like, because I don't know about that. For instance, there's something called Rashi's daughters. There's stories about Rashi's daughters. They put on tefillin. I don't know if you know that, if you heard the story. I don't know if it's true. And so that's a whole thing. It's out of my wheelhouse.
Sure.
I'm not going to tell you yes or no. From what I've heard, it's time bound, time sensitive. Mitzvahs are not pertinent to women having to keep them. That's all I know. And why it would be not with the Gemara, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. I think it's might be a slightly different thing. Probably is a different thing.
Well, I was just bringing it up because it's interesting to me that they don't want the Gentiles studying Torah, but yet they won't even let the women study Torah
Right.
unless it's under I mean, it's just kind of it's interesting to
Yeah.
me.
And
And it helps turn people off.
right. And I don't know if it's a prohibition or if it's just a stringency. In other
Right.
words, there's a difference between a prohibition and there's a difference between a stringency. Like for instance, the um the oh, I forget the rabbi's name. It's right here. It's right here in 1010. Um it's not here. I don't know the name of his book, but the there's a rabbi who says it's a stringency for B'nai Noach. So when it says we should not prevent a Ben Noach who desires to perform one of the mitzvahs in order to receive reward from doing so. In other words, B'nai Noach, he says, can do them and provided he does them as required. Um, Man, what is the name of that rabbi? But he says it's a stringency not to let him to do tefillin. Now, a lot of rabbis read it and say it's prohibited. Well, no, it's not a prohibition, it's a stringency. In other words, it's not that they can't, it's just that they probably shouldn't, or you're going to have to be really careful with it. Um, Not the Ramdu, of course, but the Radbaz. Thank you. But anyways, so that's my point. It's like it's a different issue. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm
Um,
sorry. I shouldn't have brought it up. Thank
no,
you.
it's okay. No, it's a good question. I just don't know. I'd look into it. I'd look into Rashi's daughters. There's books that have been wrote about it. What's permissible, what's permitted. Um,
It's probably a real good place to look.
yeah. I'll tell you what though, like on an interpersonal relationship like level, you're gonna want it's important, I think, for probably men to study more so if they can.
Oh, I totally agree.
You don't want a despondent man
Well,
in your
and women
relationship.
have too many other obligations that they
Yeah,
need to concentrate on. I totally agree.
yeah,
Um, but coming out of Christianity, you can
yeah,
understand what that makes a
yeah,
sense. It's
yeah.
like, what?
Yeah, yeah,
Do that.
yeah. And I'm just the wrong person to ask. I'm just the wrong person to ask. Let's try and get through this, and we're almost done. I want to get through this before Pesach. Let's see here. Uh, okay. For only that which is permitted to a Yisrael can ascend to God. Thus, when a ruling is lenient and the object in question is permitted for use, it enables the individual through utilizing it in the performance of a mitzvah to cause it to ascend to Hashem. This, of course, is an act of kindness. Okay, we left off there. Chasidei Umot haOlam, Chesed, they're from the right side, the side of Klipat Noga. Their souls are from Klipat Noga. They can't ascend. And guess what? People are trying to prohibit. They're trying to use laws of prohibition on a soul that is permitted. That's the whole, that is the contention. If you want to talk about the world today and how things are created, do things have a proper manner? Absolutely. Things should go through a certain order. For instance, you got to get rid of Avodah Zarah before you can start studying more of Torah. Or acting in a stringent manner, and so on, declaring the object to be forbidden for use, thereby precluding its elevation to holiness. This is an act of severity. So people are acting very severe with us. And what's going on is din begets din. And there are people on the left side, not politically, I'm saying, but the left side, the side of severity, they're getting dealt with harshly. But in an unjust way, or either that, or they see people from the right side, the side of Chesed, getting dealt with harshly, and so then the side of Gevurah, the side of Din, lashes out, and I think that's a big that I think a lot of that is what's going on. Because there are people who listen to my classes and stuff, and they listen to other rabbis and stuff, and they put a spotlight on these guys that say these things that aren't quite right. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that they know what they're talking about, but they can detect it, you know. This is an act of severity. These two traits, kindness and severity, represent the two general directions of the emotive attributes as they exist above and from which the halachot of the Mishnah derive. There's the right side, chesed, permitted, left side, gevura, prohibited. There's the souls, the animal souls that are from the shalosh klipot tameot, the umot haOlam, that aren't easily elevated. Times of Mashiach, they will be. But for right now, it's very, very hard, almost impossible, if impossible to do. But there's these right side souls. They can be elevated. And all this, both the Mishnah and Talmud, is according to the supernal Chochmah of Atzilut, and Bina and Dot are comprised in it, i.e., in Chochmah. And they, the Mishnah and Talmud, and the illumination of Chabad and Midot found in them, are united with the blessed Ein Sof, for in all of them are clothed Chabad of Atzilut, with which the light of the blessed Ein Sof is united in perfect union. Okay, that was a big one. Okay. And in all this, both the Mishnah and the Talmud is according to the supernal Chochmah of Atzilus. So there's the wisdom of Atzilus, and the Bina and Dana and Dot are comprised in it, i.e., in the Chochmah. Okay, still an Atzilut there. And they, the Mishnah and Talmud, and the illumination of Chabad and Midot found in them, are united with the blessed Ein Sof, for in all of them are clothed the Chabad of Atzilut, with which the light of the blessed Ein Sof is united in a perfect union. I thought they said it was Berea, but okay. Thus, with the Shekinah enclothed itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of the world of Yetzirah, and thereafter in the Malchut of Yetzirah, that part of Torah, which is called the Mishnah, is drawn down. This being the receptacle for the light of the Shekinah as it is revealed in the world of Yetzirah. I was going to say, I was like, they said that Talmud was from Berea, but I thought it was in like manner, i.e., in the same manner that the Shekinah first clothed itself in the level of Malchut of Yetzirah, the Shekinah then descended and clothed itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of Asiya. And if each of these three worlds, Berea, Yetzirah, and Asiya, is subdivided into myriads of gradations, which are also called particular worlds, and Malchut of Atzilut, the level of Shekinah, is clothed in the level of Malchut of each particular world. Moreover, through the above mentioned enclothing, it descends and enclothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies, namely the Chabad, which is in the world below it in rank. So the Malchut of Atzilus is clothed in the level of Malchut of each particular world, and B, moreover, through the above mentioned clothing, it descends, and C enclothes itself in the shrine of the Holy of Holies, namely the Chabad, which is in the world below it in rank. We thus have Malchut of Atzilus, and as it is enclosed in Malchut of a world of higher rank, descending into the Chabad of a world of lesser rank. This will enable us to understand the wording of the phrase, your kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds. The text seems to imply that there is one level of kingship called your kingdom and another level of kingship known as the kingdom of all worlds. The Alter Rebbe therefore explains that the verse is telling us that your kingdom is the innermost aspect of the kingdom of all the worlds. Within them, all is enclosed your kingdom, Malchut of Atzilut. It is from the Shekinah, which is clothed in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of each and every general or particular world, that light and vitality are extended and diffused to that world, whole world, and the creatures contained therein, the souls and so forth. So he's using nashamot there as a general term. So there's level of souls like the neshama, ruach, nefesh, and like, but each individual soul in the world is called the neshama. The last phrase refers to the other beings of each world, such as the haOlam. They all receive light and vitality from the Shekinah, as it is clothed in the shrine of the Holy of Holies of that particular world. So the haOlam, the chambers, for they were all created by the 10 divine utterances of creation, thus being God's speech, which is termed the Shekinah. note by the Rebbe. For before this, there were no worlds. This being the meaning of in the beginning, at the beginning point of creation, from non-being to being. Divine speech revealed that which was previously concealed. This is also the purpose of the Shekinah, revealing to the world a light which is essentially higher than the world. This appears to me, this is talking about the Nefesh Behemot. You're supposed to do the Torah and mitzvahs. Why? Because you're then shedding that, or creating, not creating, but you're showing that light. You're revealing the godliness above that is higher. Therefore, Malchut of Atzilut, which is termed the Shekinah, and which is God's speech as revealed in the 10 divine utterances of creation, is the level from which life and vitality are drawn down and revealed to all worlds and created beings. And all this is accomplished through Torah, for Torah is the shrine of the Holy of Holies, in which the Shekinah first resides in every world. Thus, as mentioned earlier, it serves as a garment to the Shekinah. There we go. Wow. There we go, everyone. That was huge. That was huge. I think we got to figure it out. Yeah, that really is something. Well, I know it's late, guys. But thank you so much. This was an amazing class. Like this really was. This was profound. This revealed so much. So it's a very big deal.
James.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Yep. Good night. Nice seeing you, Ernestine. Take care, Dixie.
Night, Jane.
Yep.